Well, hey Instagram, welcome back to our weekly hangout session. I am super excited to see each and every one of you. Today, we are doing a live Q&A, Ask Me Anything, and we are going to be answering questions about my books, about my characters, about my author journey. You can ask questions like favorite color, all those fun, fabulous things, and we are going to get your questions answered today. We will be giving away a book, so the more you talk to me, the more likely you are to win an ebook of your choice, and we are allowing people to come on air with me today because it's an open Q&A. So if you are over 18 years old, you can come on air, or you can request to come on air with me today and join me to ask 1 to 2 questions. You get about 3 minutes or 4 minutes of airtime with me, and you get to ask questions in real time. So I'm super excited for this one. If you are under 18, you do need a parent or a guardian's consent. So that means you cannot come on today because you have not signed the form, or your parents have not signed the form yet. But you can request that release form so that next week you can come on air with me. If you do not wish to come on air with me, drop your questions in the chat box or in the question box so that I can answer them. We're going to be hanging out for the next little bit of time, and I'm super excited to see all of you for today's Q&A. And we know tons of things have been going on in the book world this week, so we're going to chat all about those things, and I'm super excited to get your questions answered. So hey, welcome. Thanks so much for joining. Appreciate y'all being here. You do need your parents' consent to go on the Instagram live with me, and it does have to be a signed form. I do need that, so that will have to be next week, but go ahead and hit me up and I'll send you that form later on so we can do that next week. You just turned 18. That's super exciting. By requesting to come on air with me, you are consenting to me putting this on Instagram, obviously, and also over to YouTube. So please make sure you are cool with that before you request to go live. And if you've got questions, go ahead and send those in. Do I have a favorite book? I typically say of my books that I have written, my babies are my debut twins, or I call them my debut twins because they came out just a couple of weeks apart. So the Golden Trilogy and the Jaded Duology are my babies. They mean everything to me. And so those are my favorites. Outside of things that I've written, I typically credit The Hunger Games and Divergent, the Selection series, and the Sinner series as being the most influential in my writing. They gave me a permission to do a lot of things that not all authors like to do. Speaking specifically of Veronica Roth and realistic endings. Y'all know what I mean there. But there's lots of really great books out there, and lots of fun reads as well. If you've got questions, keep them coming in. I'm super excited to get those answered for you. You're working, but you found me online. Excited that you guys are here. We are taking your questions. Feel free to send them in on the question box so that I can pop them up on screen, or send them in through the chat, and I would love to go ahead and get those taken care of. So we've got a question about writing goals, or if I take it day by day. So when I'm writing, and I actually, because I write really fast, I do not write every day. I write a book really, really fast. And then if it's a series, I'll write the book, write the second book, write the third book, because in the indie world, you do not have to wait for your editor to destroy your book and then rebuild it. So I just write the whole series back to back to back, and then I go about my business and I do other things, and then a few weeks later I'll write another book. So for me, when I'm writing on my writing days, I do have a specific word count that I go for. I typically aim for between 6,000 and 7,000 words a day, and that is my baseline. That's my average. I don't go under 6,000 a day, and if I have the ability to, if I have the bandwidth to, I will intentionally go over that 7,000. I do have it down to where I can write a full-length novel in 9.5 days. It's a little on the crazy side, but that does mean that I have the ability to just get the books done and then go do other work and then do another book, and I just very much get it all in one condensed space and get that taken care of. Great question. Keep those coming in. I'm super excited that y'all are here. What made me want to start writing? Interestingly enough, I had read a book, and it was back in the day when I didn't know how to properly search on Amazon to find a similar book, and I just couldn't find anything that I wanted to read after that, so I kind of, just for fun, I just started writing on my own, and I just for me, it was just okay, I can't find anything I want. Here are the issues I found with this book that I didn't like. Here's how I'm going to correct this in my book. And I just kind of wrote a story. And then I kind of wrote another story. And then I kind of wrote another story. And then somebody found out and kind of like, you need to query. Oh, okay. And at that point, I was offered a couple of different contracts, turned those down. I didn't do anything with my books for a good year, and then I found the right fit, and here we are with multiple bestsellers later. So lots and lots of fun. It was a total accident. I never meant to get into writing professionally. What am I working on right now? I actually cannot talk about that because I am surprise releasing stuff soon, but I have some surprise announcements coming soon. Do I still make themed jewelry for my books? Yes, I do. Every single book or series has at least one piece of jewelry, a necklace specifically, that goes with it. At this point, I actually more or less have like 3 to like 5 or 6 different necklaces per series or per book standalone. That I wear to conventions, and I wear when I do live streams about that specific book, or in videos about those specific books, or just for fun and on some of my live streams. Some of it you can buy on my website if it was something that I made and had extra pieces for that I can replicate it. Some of them I just straight up purchased. This is not one of them. I'm just referencing it here. But you do have access to get some of those, and I do take my book jewelry around to conventions. So when you see me signing at cons, I have jewelry with me that you can buy that correlates to my books and usually is written in some fashion to the book as well. I like to write in like special necklaces and things in a lot of my stories. 6K a day is my base. Yeah, 6 to 7K is like the minimum that I will do when I am writing a book. But again, I don't write every single day. I just, when I start a book, I know for the duration, for the next like 2 weeks, all I'm going to be doing is focused on that book with some little side things, work things, that I kind of work in around it, but I spend the majority of my focus writing that book to get that done. How do you become an author? Do you just write a book, or do you need to go through context? So there are multiple ways to become an author. You can actually go over to my YouTube page, and I have the breakdown of indie versus traditional versus vanity presses, and how you can take those next steps and decide what's right for you and for your specific book to get into the publishing industry. And yeah, there's a huge money difference between indie and trad, and it is not what you think. What was your experience with getting your first book published? Well, I had actually, I had queried, I think I was doing like 3 books at once when I jumped into the world of querying, and I had multiple contracts offered to me. I had some bidding wars going on between agents and publishers and stuff, and I didn't like any of the terms, so I was reading over the contracts and like what it would look like and their marketing plans, and I didn't like them. So I told everybody no, and then for a year I was like, I don't need this. I'm going to take care of my books. That is more important than like fame and getting my books out there. I am waiting for the right fit, or I'm not going to do it at all. And it took an entire year to find a company that pursued me and really, really pushed strongly for me to work with them. And that ended up being the right fit for me. And my debut novel was the #7 best-selling book out of every book in existence on Amazon. The second book I put out was the number 74, and then another one was 87, and all of them have been #1 in their categories. So it was an interesting experience, and it was one I definitely waited on. I definitely found the right fit before I jumped in and did that. It would be like, and this is like an interesting correlation here, but it would be like marrying the first guy who asked you out. We don't do that. We make sure it's the right fit first. Do you set the atmosphere for writing, burning candles or having props, or do you simply sit and go? I typically don't. I can get distracted by things, so like a lot of people listen to music. If I listen to music, I will write the lyrics into the book because I'll be busy singing. So typically I don't. Because I am a highly trained author, I can sit down and just knock out a ton of words. It wasn't always like that. I trained myself to get there, but I don't like mess with like sounds, and I'm actually deathly allergic to scented things, so candles would actually kill me. But it really is just like, okay, it's work time, and I work. And not everybody's like that. Everybody's gonna be a little bit different, but for me, I tend to prefer like a quiet atmosphere and then just be able to work. But that's just me. If you're just jumping on, we're answering your questions. You can actually request to go live with me if you want to come on air and ask a question face-to-face. You do have to be over 18 years old, or you need your parental or your guardian's consent. That was poor grammar there. Your parents or your guardian's consent. It does have to be a signed form, so if you want to join me and you're under 18, you have to request that form from me and then send it back, and then next week you can come on air with me. But if you are over 18, you can jump on air with me and ask a question. You get maybe 1 to 2 questions and 3 to 4 minutes of airtime before we move on to the next set of questions or the next person who's joining us. Golden is still your favorite trilogy you've read in a long time. Thank you. Thank you. I adore that series. I was so mean in that series, but I love my babies. I love them, and I may or may not have something up my sleeve connected to that coming in the next few months, so maybe stick around. All right, I see the questions are coming in. I kind of want to get through the chat just a little bit so I don't lose things. But I do want to jump into the question box in just a minute, so keep those coming in. And thank you for the hearts. That helps Instagram to know I'm doing something cool, and it means they're going to tell more people that we're live, so please keep that coming. I'm living for the Show Me How You Write series. Can you tease who is in the hot seat next? Well, we just had an episode drop this morning. So episode 3 of the Show Me How You Write series dropped with Gina Eman. She is a USA Today best-selling author. She writes Bad Boy Alphas, and she writes Swoony Billionaires. So it is contemporary adult romance, and she's talking all about how she pantses her books. She talks about how she dictates her books sometimes. We chat about the Save the Cat method of writing, and so we kind of like get a really cool behind-the-scenes look for those of you who kind of maybe pants that a little bit more than plot. The Show Me How You Write series, for those of you that don't know, is a series we're doing over on the YouTube channel that is all about showing how authors write on screen. So we show you what their screens look like. Every document they have up, every program they use, they talk you through it so that you can either steal their strategy or take parts of their strategy and blend them with parts of other people's strategies to find the perfect fit for you to level up with your writing. So I hope you guys are checking that out over on YouTube. I think I just had a little bit of a Canadian accent there. I must be hanging out with Sarah K.L. Wilson a little too much. We did definitely film her episode of the Show Me How You Write series recently, and I must have picked up her accent just a little bit. It's kind of fun. But if you're not following me on YouTube, you absolutely should be, because I stopped what I was doing to do this live stream, and what I was doing was editing my first author blog. So I'm going to be doing weekly vlogs for you guys, showing you how I write and how I market and how I do conventions and like how I do podcasts and all the fun things. And this first episode is all about how I do the Reader Convo series over on TikTok. So I show you how I film it, how I write my scripts, like all the fun things. So you get a behind the scenes look at how that explosive series is created over on TikTok, that's now getting hundreds of thousands of views on some of those episodes. So it's lots of fun, and that will come out in the next couple of days. I'm editing it today. Fingers crossed it'll be out Thursday, but it's my very first one, so I'm still like, oh, have to create an intro. Oh, have to figure out the music. Oh, have to figure out all these things. So that is the plan for today, to get that done and ready to go, but no promises. Did anyone try to take advantage of you due to the fact you were a new writer? That is common. That is very common. There are predatory people out there, and there are predatory vanity presses out there. But there's information on that over on YouTube. I definitely saw the red flags. There was a very well-known publisher who produced one of my favorite books, and they offered me a contract. I turned them down. My lawyer told me to turn them down after I saw these red flags. And about a year later, it came out that they were stealing from their authors and like bullying them and like doing all these horrible things. So yeah, it is a thing. You just gotta be careful. Oh, we're getting a request. Let me see who's hanging out. Danielle. Yes. Okay. We're gonna enter those question boxes. And I'm super excited to hear from you guys and get those questions answered for you. And we're just waiting for this to connect. Hey!
Hey.
How are you?
I am great. How are you?
I'm good. What questions do you have?
Probably the best one that I can come up with right now would be, what is your favorite part of the writing process?
Ooh.
Because there are way too many steps. I know, like just 1,000, I feel like. So what's your favorite one? Or two, just whatever.
Yeah, that's a very good question. And you're right, there are a lot of different steps. So when it comes to writing, some people do their plotting, some people just pan the whole thing, but you have to sit down, you actually have to write the story, then you have to go and edit it, and then you have to send it to beta readers and to professional editors, and then it's like, you know, putting everything together and formatting and covers and like all the things, which we actually talked about on TikTok today. If y'all haven't seen that TikTok, you should go check that one out. For me, my favorite part, I think, is actually doing the writing, because editing is not fun. Editing is work. Editing is hard, and
Editing is work. Yeah, but I like editing.
Yeah, I like editing because it fixes my errors, but also like sit there and be like, oh, that was cringy. Don't write that. Fix that. So editing is a bit more on the work side. It's also me saying I don't like math, but being addicted to numbers and statistics and like everything I need to make it so, but also it's a comforting thing to make it a little bit better.
Yeah.
It's super fun, right? I know you write as well, so you totally get the fact that
yes,
it's necessary, but a process.
yes, it is. And I feel like the editing part is, you know, like you said, necessary. But I don't know. For me, that's where I find a lot of my errors, I guess. I don't know. So it's a good step. But yeah, for me also the initial creation, I think, is the best part.
Yeah.
Most fun, at least.
Yeah, I definitely think that that's true for most people. I will say there's a big difference between self-editing your book. That's after you write your story, you go through and you look for all your errors and issues, and then you send it off to the professional. And there's a huge difference between doing it yourself to correct yourself and then having notes from an editor come back. Scary as heck, and it is painful sometimes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, fun times. Fun times. Do you have another question for me?
No, not at the moment. I mean, I always want to know what you're working on next, but we all know that's always a secret. So
It is a secret, except you actually know what I'm working on right now, and we can tease it.
But I won't tell anybody.
So we're not going to tell anybody what I'm doing, but I have a little bit of a surprise coming out in the not too distant future. So without any hints, how excited are you for this?
I am stoked. I really am. I can't wait.
And you were actually, and y'all should take note of this, she was instrumental in turning this tiny little project.
Yeah, so you're welcome.
It's all her fault. All right. Thank you, Danielle, for hanging out with me. I do appreciate it. If you come up with more questions, feel free to request to come back on in a little bit.
Cool.
All right. Thanks.
Bye.
All right. If you want to join me, I would love to hear from you guys. You can hit the request button. You do have to be over 18 years old because this is giving me consent to not only put you here on Instagram, but to put you over on YouTube as well. If you're under 18, you need parental consent, which means you got to get the form, the release form from me, to get it signed, sent back, and then next week you can come on air with me. I know the questions are coming in. Oh my goodness. I gotta scroll up and see what's going on here. What is my favorite book cover that I've ever designed? I cannot answer that. I cannot. They're all so pretty. They're just so pretty. All the fun things. I will say, I got some gorgeous ones coming out too. And actually, there are maybe like 3 of them coming out in the not too distant future that are probably my favorites, but they aren't out yet. So there is that. Would I ever write a longer series like 5 or more books? Yes, absolutely. Did I design all my own covers? Yes, I did for everything but the one of the books that I have with a traditional publisher because they had to use their in-house person. So all but one of them, I actually had the opportunity to design. Yes. Oh, and we figured that out. Fantastic. Do you ever start something and then don't touch it for a while? Back when I was a baby author, yes. But now that I am established, I have the discipline to just finish it, and I know what's going to sell and what's not. So if I know something is not going to be a project that I'm going to easily finish, if it's not going to be a project that's going to sell, then I don't even bother starting it at this point in time. So not anymore, but definitely back in the day when I was like finding my footing, there are some projects that I just set aside because it just wasn't working. It wasn't in my genres. It wasn't a thing. So the more you do it, the less that'll happen. Okay. You finished reading Cinder last night. Oh, I'm so glad that you loved it and you're super fangirling. Hey, I'm so excited that you're here. All right, let me get in those question boxes because I know the questions were coming in, and man, do I need to get these answers. So let me see what's going on here. Okay, great question. I haven't read any of your books yet, but really want to after finding you on TikTok. Which book should you read first? I usually recommend that people start with the Jaded Duology. Made my fans start an emotional support group. This is the number 74 best-selling book out of every book in existence on Amazon, and number 1 in all of its categories, and is a pretty good indicator of how vicious I am as an author. That's usually a good place to start. Let's see what else we have here. Sorry, I'm like trying to figure out what questions are. Golden-based announcement in the next 2 weeks. I'm digging through all of your things to find clues. So I do have a big announcement I'm dropping in the next 2 weeks. I do like to give hints. Some of the things that I am saying are directed toward that. The golden thing is not it. We have a lot of people guessing what it is. Nobody's guessed it yet. Probably not going to guess it unless I get like super ultra specific with my, if I basically hand it to you, with my hints. But that is going to be dropping, and it's time sensitive. There's a hint for you. Think that one through. If you read the Golden Trilogy, it will rip your heart out. Yes, most of my books do. I have one fluffy-ish book, golden, jaded, sugar-coated, they'll all devastate you. It's a thing. How do you add more detail to a book that you've written? Well, you have to go back in and you have to do some world building and you have to do some character development. So adding in details is going to be really important. So you want to make sure that you are like fleshing things out, make sure people can really imagine and see that in their mind as they are reading. And then just, I mean, I keep saying like add in detail, but like that's what it comes down to. You got to add in detail. So describe things better, describe things more. Start thinking about like physical reactions, how people are responding to things. So what are their eyes doing? What's their face doing? What's their jaw doing? What are their hands doing? Build it out, develop it, and then talk to me about the world around me. The bush isn't just green. You got to talk about the leaves and the way that they're moving in the wind and like all the fun stuff. Okay. Let's see. Time sensitive, nice hint. I know, that was a good hint, right? Oh gosh. I'll just compare me to Game of Thrones. I love it. Accurate. Sugar-coated ripped my heart out. I am not sorry about that. Do you find parts of yourself in your characters? Yes, a lot of them, but not all of them. Back in the early days, I definitely wrote in bits of me because I didn't see that represented anywhere else, and I wanted to make sure people had the opportunity to see those things inside of characters. So I put a lot of my, like Jade has my allergies. Illyria makes some of the decisions that I would make. Jade has my fashion. Muffet has my techiness. Like I give that representation, but I also do things so like my friends feel like they're represented inside of literature as well. So I try to get like things that I've heard people say that they haven't seen anywhere else into some of my characters as well. Do I talk out character lines to myself? I typically don't speak the lines to myself. I do play out some of my scenes, specifically with like my fight scenes or like specific movement scenes with the mermaid stuff, just to make sure things are actually believable. So like if I were on the ground and doing like this particular type of kick to defend myself, could I move in this limited space so that it matches the book? If not, I have to change things. So I have been in front of a big picture window acting things out with the neighbors watching. It's been a thing. How do you come up with names for your characters? I keep a running list of names that I like on my phone. I frequently make up names, spin-offs of things that sound cool. I will, on rare occasion, not often because this is like super overdone in the book industry, but sometimes characters' names will have meanings that connect to their story. So for my Jaded Duology, which is a Goldilocks retelling, all three of the bear family members, which are people with the last name of bear, not creatures, all three of their first names mean bear. So that was kind of an interesting connection to that but I typically don't go for meanings, just like everybody does that. You can also look at baby websites, baby name websites, or you can kind of like use names that sound good, but just keep a running list of things that you like, and then you can visit those when you need names. Or ask other people for their opinions and advice. You can totally do that too. Okay, I am going to check out more of these, and then we are going to go ahead and check out the chat box. What is my favorite character that I have ever written? Illyria and Dove from the Golden Trilogy, and Jade from the Jaded Duology. Also, Annika and Hansel from Sugar Coated. And then if I keep going, it'll get into my Jack Frost stuff and some other things, but those are my tops. More from the question box. Have I read Kira Cass's new book? I have not. I have not yet. It is something I do want to do, but I loved her selection series. She's one of the few authors I haven't hung out with. I really need to do that. How long does it take me to write a full book? 9.5 days if I'm hustling for a full-length novel. I can write really fast. That's not normal. Most people take months to years. Okay, if I can get the lid back on my water bottle, we will continue to answer your questions. Let's see. What do you write on? I use Google Docs. I use Word, and if you go over to youtube.com/KMRobinsonBooks, you will see the Show Me How You Write series, where I have on award-winning and best-selling authors to show you their processes and show you on screen what documentation they have up, what programs they use, all those fun things, so you can actually see exactly how I write, exactly how I set my screen up by going over to YouTube and learning how I do it over there. Okay. How did I come up with Dove Bear for the Golden Trilogy? Well, let's just be very clear here. That man is my ultimate book boyfriend. If I could find that man in real life, I would marry him. That would be the end of it. He is mine. That's all. And I knew that I wanted him to be Baby Bear. So in my Goldilocks retelling, instead of having a mama bear, a papa bear, and a baby bear, I have the kind of them as figureheads. So it's Berwin is the older brother, and he's like the papa bear. His wife, Eden, is like the mama bear, and then Dove is like the baby bear. And I knew I wanted him to be like super swoony, ultra sweet, like the ultimate, like you cannot find a better human, period. So I just gave him all the good traits, but he also has to really suffer in this story. So we know we're kind of walking into the situation where he is a little bit on the abuse side. He is kind of taking the fall for a lot of people. He is carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders and still being a good human being, which, haha, is not something we see often. Let's just be honest. And so I gave him all the good qualities, and he still has to suffer. So of course I rip them apart. I make it really hard. He has hard decisions to make, and he has to figure out how to overcome them. So I just put that boy through the ringer. Like, if somebody's going to be nice, I am going to hurt them. That's the kind of author that I am. So I just kind of like everything that I love, I threw into creating Dove Bear. If y'all can find me a Dove Bear in real life, I'll give you all my books. That's what we'll do. Okay. And please don't be sending me TikTok boys. I have found some that look like him, though. I'm just saying, but no. All right, continuing on with questions. Do I only keep author friends in the specific genres you write in? No, I've got author friends in all the genres. I specifically write young adult sci-fi and fantasy, and you will see me introducing you to people who are in the realm in which I write. So people who write YA, and more specifically the sci-fi and the fantasy side of things, because I know that's what my readers like, and I want to give you the opportunity to meet other authors that you would like. Yes, you might like my friends in the other genres or in the other areas, but I know that the masses of you like the style that I write, like the things that I write, so I bring you people that I know you're going to like. But I have people all over the spectrum. In fact, if you watch today's episode of the Show Me How You Write series, today's episode is featuring Gina E. Mann. She writes adult romance, which is not what I write. So you can meet her over there, but she doesn't necessarily come on like my live streams and hang out and do stuff like this because it's not most of your genres. So we hang out with all the friends, we learn and grow together, but when I present people to you, it's people within my area because I know that's what you guys like. Okay, let's see. Have I ever cried during my own books? Yeah. Usually when somebody dies, I know it's coming. I have it planned from the beginning. I always know. There has only been one surprise death for me. And y'all, I sobbed. I saw it coming. I saw it coming the chapter before. I knew it was coming. I knew it had to happen. But oh my gosh, I just sat and cried. But I had prepared my heart for the rest of them, so I would get sad and teary, but not like full out cry. So yes, I have. We don't just hurt you guys, we hurt ourselves too. Okay, continuing on. I know you change your covers a lot. Do any of your books still have the original covers? Yes, most of them do. I like to change up the series, and I like to change up the older books, just because cover trends change all the time, and depending on what I'm selling most of, they sell differently. So ebooks with like girls in pretty dresses on the covers sell more than physical books with pretty girls in dresses on covers. More of like the traditional style of book tends to sell better in print than it does in ebook. So you'll even notice sometimes I have the print as one cover and the ebook as another cover just because it changes the sales rates. But most of my books still have the original covers. The Golden Trilogy has been updated. The Jaded Trilogy has been updated. The Legends Chronicles has been updated. Virtually Sleeping Beauty has been updated. Sinking got an upgrade. I'm just going through my covers right now. Sugar Coated, the ebook and the printed book are different because I added a girl for the ebook because that's what sells. But the rest of them, I think, all have the original covers still. So at some point you'll probably see some changes, but if it's selling, I'm good. Or I'm bored because I'm a cover designer, guys. I can change it whenever I dang well please. So sometimes I do it just for fun. What is my favorite place to write? Well, because I do so much business-wise, my computer is always tethered to a bank of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 external hard drives, plus a bunch of jump drives, and I can't think of the word. It's a giant device that is a battery, so if your power goes out, it does not kill your external hard drives. It's got like a battery backup. That's it. So I am strongly tethered to this one specific location. Currently, we are sitting at the kitchen table I use as a desk. It is not in my kitchen, it is in my office, but it is the size of a big like dining room kitchen table, and I've got my computer on it, my bank of external hard drives. This is my background, and so directly on the other side of my phone right now is the computer where I work, and this is it. That's all I got. Okay, I see that we do have lots of questions coming in, so keep those coming. Thank you guys for all the hearts. I do appreciate it greatly. I'm almost through the question box questions, and we're going to jump into the ones here. Have you ever changed your mind about killing a character? Oh, I shouldn't have put that on the screen. Yes, but it's a little spoilery, so that's where I'm going to leave that. Okay. Did I get this? Oh, no, one more. What made you decide to write fairy tale retellings? The first 2 books I wrote were purely dystopian. Those books are not published right now. They will be published because I'm revamping them, but I didn't set out to, with my very first book, write a retelling. I knew I wanted to write Goldilocks' story because I was obsessed with figuring out what her real story was, because I never bought that she would just wander into a house, set up shop, and then run away when the bear showed up. I was also livid because people used to say she was a girl with white blonde hair, and that's not gold. If you go into any store that sells hair dye and you look at gold, it is not blonde like that. And so I wanted to correct that, because when I grew up, and I used to get out in the sun more, I live in a cave now, so my hair is a little bit darker, But when I got out in the sun, my hair was a bit darker and it matched that gold perfectly. And it was never represented correctly in Goldilocks' story or in any like TV capacity when people are like, yeah, she's got golden hair. No, she has blonde hair. She's white blonde. That's not the thing. So I wanted to fix that. And so I figured out Goldilocks' story, and then I realized I could retell all of these stories with twists so that you thought you knew the story. Turns out you actually didn't. So I love my retellings. Okay, I need to scroll up because these questions have been coming in and I'm super excited to answer these for you. Okay, here we go. Hey, Romania, excited that you guys are here. I am scrolling up just to find where we left off. Oh, here we go, here we go. Have you ever thought about writing children's books? Okay. Yes. I may be chatting with my artist friend and we may, this is not happening. Okay. It's not like nothing is confirmed, but we keep saying, yeah, we should totally write a picture book. And so we're like, we should write a Christmas book. We should write like whatever as a children's book, but it's something we have a lot of steps to take before we get to that point. But it is definitely something that I do want to look into. I'm not an artist, so I can't do it myself. I have to find a friend. Oh, that's a good question. Do I prefer to write romance scenes or action? 100%, without a shadow of a doubt. My favorite thing to write is the romance scenes. Give me a good kissing scene any day. I love it. I live for that. I write it in every possible opportunity. And when my author friends who prefer the action scenes show me their book and they kissed and they move on, I make them fix it. You know who you are. You have me to thank for a lot of romance scenes in my literature because I have forced them to write more than one sentence on the topic. You're welcome. It's my favorite. I love my action scenes. Don't get me wrong. I love them, but nothing compares to my love for writing romance scenes. All right. You thought Golden was a Goldilocks retelling. It is a Goldilocks retelling. What's your favorite book that I have not written? Well, I typically credit the Hunger Games, Divergent, The Selection, and A Sinner series with being the most influential in my writing. TikTok boys the cutest. Oh gosh, those TikTok boys. I have things to say on that. Will this be posted on YouTube later? Yes, replay will be over on YouTube. I am recording that right now for you guys, and that'll be up probably later tonight if the upload cooperates, because it usually takes like 2 hours to put these things up. Keep those questions coming. The more you talk to me, the more likely you are to win one of my ebooks of your choice. I don't limit how many you can win, so if you keep showing up to my live streams, you could win all my collection. And we're going to get all your questions answered, all the fun things. If you want to join me live, if you're over 18, you can hit that request button down below and join me on air to ask 1 to 2 questions for 3 to 4 minutes of hanging out and chatting with me. If you are under 18, you can hit me up in the DMs or email later on to get a parental consent form that your parent or guardian has to sign. And then next week, you can join me on screen to ask your questions. And we're going to get all those answered for you ASAP. I'm excited that you guys were at my lives as well. Enjoy your English class. Let me keep going with these questions. Oh gosh, haha. This is funny. Okay, let's go ahead. Let's take a look at some of these. Do you design the cover before or after you write the book? Do you ever design a cover for inspiration? I have done both. I like to have covers that I can kind of base the stories around, because if I'm adding in like specific elements to the cover that I think look really cool, I can then write it into the story. But I have also been known to write stories first and then create the covers after based on that. So it really just depends on at what point I decide to do that. That's all I've got for you. I have nothing else. I do it both ways. And I absolutely have created cool covers on like my live streams. You guys know every Wednesday I create a book cover on YouTube with you guys getting to help make decisions about the models, the backgrounds, the fake titles, all the cool things. And sometimes I create covers for like my pre-made sales on coveraday.com. And I love them so much I keep them and then I write a book about them. So that has been an actual thing. What is the craziest thing that I have done for a book? That's a great question. That is a great, fantastic question. And I have to think about it because I've done some dumb things for books. I have I have jumped around on a cliff with no restraints and a camera in my hand for a book trailer for somebody else and also for some stuff from one of my books. That was before I was a published author. I have done silk aerial classes for my circus book. I have done like fighting things so I can learn how to like knife throw and weaponry and like self-defense and like all that cool stuff. I have for my mermaid books, I purchased and own several mermaid tails, which I then swim in pools and all sorts of fun things. There was once upon a time that I took my mermaid tail to the beach with me, and I went out at sunrise and I did photos on the beach. We don't swim in the ocean with a tail unless you like go out. We don't go where the currents are, where the riptides are. But I sat on the beach away from the waves, and a group of surfer boys walked by and got quite the what is that moment when they saw me with my tail up in the air for a photo. Oh man. So I've done some very interesting things, and I've talked to some pretty interesting people, and I have worked with some very interesting consultants, and I'm about to work with some dang cool consultants on a book I have coming out. I'm going to start writing at the beginning of January. It's one that's been in the works for a year and a half, and the consultants on this one that are necessary for me to do this book are. It's going to be an intense book. I can't wait to tell you more about it, but I have to stay quiet. Continuing on. Let me just read these. These questions, when in the chat box, in the question box, they're coming up at different locations, so I can see the ones I've done, but like I have to scroll to actually find all of these. Have I ever published a book and then decided I didn't like something? No. So I am proud of the work that I have created. Yes, I have grown in my work. Yes, I would write things differently now than I did 3 years ago. But I don't go back and I don't change things because the book is the way it is. I put a lot of hard work into it, and they are bestsellers, so I'm not going to change the storyline now. Like, the fans are responding, so I'm okay with it. Oh, okay, I see a lot of really good questions coming in. I'm going to answer them in just a second. I just want to make sure I have everything in this little box here. I got that. Oh gosh, there's so many. Okay, you know what? Let me answer a couple in the chat box, and then I'll come back to the question box. So let me scroll up just a little bit. What inspires you the most? The physical world around me tends to inspire me. I like architecture and like seeing pretty things. Those typically inspire book settings or book storylines for me. But there's lots of things. I tend to be more visual than anything else when it comes to my inspiration, though. Things are jumping. Do I have writing quirks? That's a great question, and I don't, off the top of my head, have an answer for that. I'm trying to think. Writing quirks. I'm sure people could like look at my stuff and be like, yeah, that's a quirk. I can't think of any off the top of my head. Like when I sit down to write, I like a quiet space and I just like to sit there and write, and that's it. I don't have any like, this has to be this way or this has to be this way. I can't think of anything. I'm sure that I know, because we all have quirks on it, like everything. I just can't think of them, so sorry. I'm very bad at answering that one. Pen or keyboard? Oh, I never, ever write by hand because that just doubles your work. If you write by hand, that means you then have to go through and actually do the typing, which I am not about wasting time. Now, some people do need to write by hand to trigger certain parts of their brain to get the story the way they need it, but that just means it duplicates your work. I am a work smarter, not harder kind of girl, so I always type my stuff out, but some people actually need the physical act of writing it out to make that happen. And actually, some of the people in the Show Me How You Write series talk about how they have to write things out first or process things by writing them out first, which I will say I have actually, some of my processing is I'm like figuring out what's going to happen next. Sometimes I'll take notes on like note cards or index cards and then I'll type it. But the actual manuscript, I never write that by hand. I also have wrist injuries, so we don't play that game. We always type. It always makes it easier for me. Consultants. Oh, okay. So a book consultant is someone who has experience or knowledge in an area that you do not. So when I wrote my circus aerials book, I had to get a consultant on doing the aerialist stuff because I am not trained on the silks or the lyra. So I had to go and I had to talk to a couple of different people who do it professionally, who guided me through the process to make sure that I did it correctly. You will sometimes find people have to, if they're writing like a thriller book, they're going to have to talk to a law enforcement person to really make sure they get the police work correct. With my, I'm just glancing real quick, I'm trying to think, with like cyber books, you might want to talk to a hacker to make sure you have things correct if you are doing hacking. With like steampunk books, you might want to talk to engineers and scientisty type people. When you're writing sci-fi dystopias, yeah, you're going to want to talk to people who are aware of the science and the technology. If you're writing historical fiction, you're going to want to talk to historians. So a consultant is somebody who is doing this professionally or has advanced knowledge of it that can answer questions and make sure you don't mess things up as you are writing. I love all of your books. I have gone on YouTube and listened to you read the first chapters for a few of your books. I am so excited that you are enjoying that series. I do love jumping on and reading those. I know we've had some tech problems the last month or two. My developmental team with my live stream platform is working on fixing that. They're hardcore working on it this week because I came at them a little strong last week saying this is still happening, fix it. So we're actually testing it tomorrow. So if you join me live Wednesday at 11 a.m. on YouTube and on Facebook, you will be able to hear me read the first chapter of one of my books. And it's going to be lots and lots of fun. And fingers crossed you'll be able to see and hear me this time. Because I'm a little tired of reading books and having you not be able to hear or see me. And having to do it again. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed it will be better. What makes a good story, in my opinion? That is a great question. And I would have to say it really comes down to the character development and their character arc so that they are growing throughout the course of the story. The world building is very, very important and something that is going to keep your attention while reading it. But it comes down to being a very subjective thing. So things that keep your interest may not keep my interest. Things that keep my interest may not keep your interest. So it's about writing something that people are going to enjoy. It doesn't have to be everybody. Your book is not going to be for everybody. Not everybody will like your book. You will get nasty reviews. It will be a thing. So just remember you are writing for a specific group of people, not everybody. And also, like, you got to know grammar. You got to know, like, the rules of the genres and the tropes and the things that people expect. So if you are not someone who has studied in the industry, it's not gonna be a good book. You got a lot to learn. So you have to put in the effort to actually study that and do a well-written book before you get it put out in the world. Okay. Whew. We got about 13 minutes left that we can hang out, so I would love to get your questions answered. If you have more questions, now is the time. We are cutting off the limit of people jumping on air with me at this point. So next week, you can come on with me if you're over 18. If you're under 18, you can get a release form and have a parent or a guardian sign that so that you can come on air with me. So you're going to want to hit me up after the live stream today. But we are cutting that off. Oh, now I get view requests. Oh, gosh. Okay, real quick, we'll do one more because I saw the request come in. We'll answer a question while we're here hanging out and all the fun things. And then we're going to answer your questions in the comments. We're just waiting for this to connect. Hello. Oh, my goodness, little puppy.
This is my dog, Phineas.
Oh, so cute. I love it. What questions do you have for me?
So, if you could live as one of your characters of your book and you could only live as one, which character would you choose to live in as?
That is such a good question. And I kind of want to say Jade, but everybody's out to murder her. So I feel like that's probably not a wise choice. If we were going on book boyfriends, I need to be Illyria because Dove Bear is my one true love. But I typically write like very vicious books. So I would probably die in a lot of situations. So the most likely I am to survive is in Blood is Silent, probably, because it's a little less vicious than everything else. So those are my options. I know that's like 3 options, but that's okay. Do you have another question for me?
No, I think I'm good.
Beautiful. I have a question for you. I see the beautiful balloons and streamers behind you. Are we celebrating?
On November 29th, I turned 18.
How exciting! Well, happy belated birthday, and thanks so much for coming on and asking questions.
Thank you.
All right, we will talk to you soon. Thank you. All right, guys, if you've got questions, now is your last chance to get those in. Danielle says, I love your readings. I just wish I always had time to pick up where you left off so I can finish the story. I know, it's a thing, right? It is a thing. What comes first, the plot or the characters? That varies from book to book. Typically, if it is a retelling, the characters come first, or at least the main character, because I'm retelling like Cinderella's story or Sleeping Beauty's story. So that character is going to come first, and I typically decide who they are and like what they do. So circus performer or hacker or spy or whatever. So that part comes first for a lot of my retellings. But then if it's like my dystopians or my mermaid stuff, that's always the plot. The main overarching storyline is going to come first in that particular set of stories. And so it's a little bit of both in my world. And usually I feel like for most authors, it's a little bit of both. All right. Checking in on some of these questions. Have I ever had writer's block? Yeah, when I was a baby author, I definitely had writer's block because I wasn't trained at that point. When you train yourself to be a professional author, you don't hit writer's block because you're trained to do it. And if you plot your book, you also don't hit writer's block. So even if you're new, if you're plotting your book, you're not going to hit those writer block issues. But for me now, never. I can always sit down and always knock out a giant chunk of words because I am trained and I have built my stamina up to be able to do that. Let's see. What is your book boyfriend? My favorite book boyfriend? Dove Bear from the Golden Trilogy. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. I adore him. I adore Hansel. Hansel is a close second from Sugar Coated. I adore Jack Frost for my Jack Frost retelling. Merrick from my Siren War saga. Super swoony. Aladdin from my Steampunk Aladdin retelling Lions and Lamps. Super swoony. And I'm going to stop now because there's lots of other ones that I could mention. My favorite trope. That's a good question. And I don't know if I have an answer for that. Oh, Long Lost Princess. I love Long Lost Princess books. I wrote one. It is not published yet. But I love Long Lost Princess books. Those are just so much fun for me. But I'm a fan of like enemies to lovers and best friends to lovers. I don't think I could pinpoint necessarily one as my favorite trope. I like a lot of things. I think the Long Lost Princess is probably like, if I see a book about a Long Lost Princess, I am for sure going to take the time to at least check it out. What character from my books am I most like? I would have to say probably Jade from the Jada duology. She and I are very, very similar in a lot of ways. She and I make a lot of the same decisions. And I can definitely, even in the time since I wrote that book many, many years ago. It's been published for 3 years now. But I can see my life and her life aligning in the time since it has been published. So, like, we definitely had similarities back when I was writing it and back when it was first published. But now it's like, oh, we have a lot. Our lives have very definitely gone in the same direction in some places. I will also say there's definitely a lot of Illyria and I that kind of intersect. Also, Annika's story from Sugar Coated, very strongly connected to a lot of what I've got going on. And I think those are probably like the top 3. All right, we have just a couple minutes left, so I'm going to finish up getting these questions answered for you guys. Oh, they're still coming in. Let me get these answered real fast because I want to give away a book too before we sign off today. Oh gosh, was I ever scared to publish a book? Yeah, because you know why? People are mean. People are vicious. They will leave nasty reviews. They will try to knock you down. I had somebody who got mad because I wouldn't give them a free book, and they tried to get my Facebook page banned. I was down for like a whole day before Facebook fixed it. I've had friends of mine like just bash my book and my writing and being an author and like all sorts of things to my face. I've had people show me negative reviews. Like, people are mean and vicious. the writing world is really fun. There's some really great people, but there's also some really bad people in it. So yeah, it's a scary thing to put yourself out there, but do it anyway. Do I have advice for people who shy away from romance scenes? Well, the cold hard truth when it comes to books is that romance sells. And if you have a book that does not have romance in it, depending on the genre, it might not sell. So in YA, books that don't have romance in it, they don't sell very well, period. Like, one or two exceptions maybe, but you really need to have romance in YA. You can do like adult thrillers without a ton of romance, but also you sell more with romance. Romance is just a really big, important thing in literature. And you're going to sell a ton more books if you have it than if you don't. So you're going to have to learn to do it. And you're going to have to learn to add in detail. You have to flesh it out. It can't just be they kissed and moved on. If you have written a really big book that builds up to it and then it's just like one little paragraph, your fans are going to feel very let down and they will crucify you in your reviews. I had an author friend who wrote a book and she built it up. The entire thing was, yes, these characters, when they meet, they're going to get together. It's going to be the love interest. It's going to be a big, important thing. And she got to that point and she didn't give us anything. It's like, oh, okay, they're in the same room now. They've kissed. We've moved on. And so I forced her. I forced her. It was forcible. And I made her fix it. I made her flesh it out. And her publisher was very happy because they knew that it would have been an issue if she hadn't. And it wouldn't have sold nearly as well. And the fans would have crucified her in the reviews because she had this buildup, but then she didn't deliver on it. So you have to learn to do it, unfortunately, which means you're either going to need to like pay attention to what people are doing when they are like with their significant other, how they are behaving, how they're like hanging out with each other, how they're interacting with each other, the PDA that they're doing. You have to pay attention to it. You have to write it. You're going to need to write or read. Nope. Watch. You need to watch movies and TV shows where couples are there and interacting, and you're going to have to write that kind of thing. And you're going to have to be descriptive on things. So you don't have to be like graphic. You don't have to be sexual about it, but you do have to pay attention to like, where are their hands in the hair? How does that feel? How does it feel when the fingers touch the skin of their face? How does it feel when a hand wraps around her back? Like you have to actually describe these things. And I know it's a little much. It's going to feel cringy. It's not going to feel good. As someone who loves writing my romance scenes, I cringe at the things that I write. It's been a thing. And you're going to feel weird and awkward about it. And when your people, your parents, your friends read it, you're going to feel uncomfortable, but you're just going to have to develop tough skin because that's the game that we are playing here with the book world. So you just have to learn to do it. And if you want more advice on that, you can come hang out with me, but we are 3 minutes out, and so I need to wrap this up and get the rest of these answers. Learn. I'm sorry. That's about all I got for you. You got to learn how to do it, and got to learn how to do it well, because that's what sells. Okay. Let me just, real quick, just double check. Oh gosh. Okay, real fast, y'all. Stop sending in the questions. I'm not going to be able to get them all answered. We're going to have to go late. Ooh, sorry, that little fuzzy was from the blue fuzzy socks I am wearing right now. Apologies. My favorite Disney princess. I have 5 favorite Disney princesses. They are Belle and Ariel and Jasmine and Rapunzel and Elsa. I do have to count them because I always say them in a different order and I always manage to forget somebody, but I got it this time, so yay me. Those are my favorites. I love them. I adore Disney and I adore princesses. Okay. If I had to choose between angels and mermaids, what would I choose? Mermaids, always. I don't write angel books. I write mermaid books. I also have mermaid tales. Like, yeah, no, I'm here for the mermaids. One piece of advice that I would give to aspiring authors or wannabe authors. So study the industry. You have to learn. Your first book is going to suck. It's going to be bad. You are going to have to listen to people tell you it is bad, and then you're going to have to fix it before it can go to publication, whether you're indie or traditionally published. You have a lot of work to do. Your first book is not a masterpiece, period. It's bad. You have to be able to fix it. And you have to be able to take the criticism to fix it. Study the industry, learn how to market. No matter what genre you're going into, what area you're going into, if you're traditionally or indie published, you will be doing 90% of the marketing by yourself. Learn to market. Learn to do social media and learn to write according to tropes and to market, because if you don't, your book's not going to sell. And lots of other advice over on youtube.com/JamesRobinsonBooks. But we're wrapping this up because I have to give away a book and end this live stream because we're going to actually we are going to get cut off Oh, I forgot that Instagram does that. Okay, we're hurrying. It's not saying that I'm getting cut off, but I'm just checking. Okay, I think more or less I got it. I think I got it. Beautiful. Let's go ahead and let's give away a book. This is a book of your choice. If you don't know which book of mine you want, go to Amazon, look at the blurbs, and then you are going to tell me which book you want. And DM me. You can DM me here on Instagram, and I will send you a link over for that. All books are up for grabs except for the omnibuses, because those are more than one book in one, and that's not fair. So let me go ahead, and I'm just going to scroll, and we are just going to find who is going to get today's book. And it looks like, oh, beautiful, Danielle, you have won today's book. I'm super excited for you. You can go ahead and DM me and let me know which book you would like, and I will send that right on over to you. Guys, thank you so much for all the hearts, all the love, all of the great questions today. Oh, I see one more. Have I ever been a consultant for a book? Yes, I have. Yes, I have. I've done all sorts of fun consultancy things, and I've worked with some really cool consultants too on my books. So we'll talk more about consultants in an upcoming live stream. Does that sound good to you guys? Is that something you would like? Let me know. Maybe. I don't know if I can get them, but maybe I can actually introduce you to some of my consultants too. I've done interviews with some of them before. When I released books, I did live streams, and I have them over on the YouTube page, so you can actually check this out, but you can also check out some upcoming things that we may have for that, so could be lots of fun. Thank you all for joining. Appreciate each and every one of you being here. As always, make sure you are leaving some comment love on a couple of my Instagram posts, and I will see you in tomorrow's live stream as we do a live book reading. We will also be doing a live cover design over on YouTube tomorrow. Until then, I hope you all have the most fantastic day and you stay inspired.